Andrea," her mother said. Then, in concession to a request made roughly 1,000 times before, "Andy." "Mom." "Let me speak, darling." Laura paused. "Please." Andy nodded, preparing for a long-awaited lecture. She was officially 31 years old today. Her life was stagnating. She had to start making decisions rather than having life make decisions for her. Laura said, "This is my fault." Andy felt her chapped lips peel apart in surprise. "What's your fault?" "Your being here, trapped here." Andy held out her arms, indicating the restaurant. "At the Rise and Dine?" Her mother's eyes traveled the distance from the top of Andy's head to her hands, which fluttered nervously back to the table. Dirty brown hair thrown into a careless ponytail. Dark circles under her tired eyes. Nails bitten down to the quick, the bones of her wrists like the promontory of a ship. Her skin, normally pale, had taken on the pallor of hot dog water. The catalog of flaws didn't even include her work outfit. The navy blue uniform hung off Andy like a paper sack. The stitched silver badge on her breast pocket was stiff. The Belle Isle palm tree logo surrounded by the words Police Dispatch Division. Like a police officer, but not actually. Like an adult, but not really. 5 nights a week, Andy sat in a dark, dank room with 4 other women answering 911 calls, running license plate and driver's license checks, and assigning case numbers. Then, around 6 a.m, she slinked back to her mother's house and spent the majority of what should have been her waking hours asleep. Laura said, "I never should have let you come back here." Andy pressed together her lips. She stared down at the last bits of yellow eggs on her plate. "My sweet girl." Laura reached across the table for her hand, waited for her to look up. "I pulled you away from your life. I was scared, and I was selfish." Tears rimmed her mother's eyes. "I shouldn't have needed you so much. I shouldn't have asked for so much." Andy shook her head. She looked back down at her plate. "Darling." Andy kept shaking her head because the alternative was to speak. And if she spoke, she would have to tell the truth. Her mother had not asked her to do anything. 3 years ago, Andy had been walking to her shitty Lower East Side 4th-floor walk-up, dreading the thought of another night in the one-bedroom hovel she shared with 3 other girls, none of whom she particularly liked, all of whom were younger, prettier, and more accomplished, when Laura had called. "Breast cancer," Laura had said, not whispering or hedging, but coming straight out with it in her usual calm way. "Stage 3. The surgeon will remove the tumor, then, while I'm under, he'll biopsy the lymph nodes to evaluate." Laura had said more, detailing what was to come with a degree of detached, scientific specificity that was lost on Andy, whose language processing skills had momentarily evaporated. She had heard the word breast, more than cancer, and thought instantly of her mother's generous bosom, tucked beneath her modest one-piece swimsuit at the beach, peeking over the neckline of her Regency dress for Andy's Netherfield-themed 16th birthday party. Strapped under the padded cups and gouging underwires of her lady comfort bras as she sat on the couch in her office and worked with her speech therapy patients. Laura Oliver was not a bombshell, but she had always been what men called very well put together. Or maybe it was women who called it that, probably back in the last century. Laura wasn't the type for heavy makeup and pearls, but she never left the house without her short gray hair neatly styled, her linen pants crisply starched, her underwear clean and still elasticized. Andy barely made it out of the apartment most days. She was constantly having to double back for something she had forgotten, like her phone or her ID badge for work, or, one time, her sneakers, because she'd walked out of the building wearing her bedroom slippers. Whenever people in New York asked Andy what her mother was like, she always thought of something Laura had said about her own mother.